Speaker.
I call Alistair Scott. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to talk about two of the four pillars of our fiscal strategy. I'm going to be talking about the tight rein on spending that we demonstrate and the way we look to return excess revenue to taxpayers. But before I do that, sir, I'd like to comment on a couple of the sanctimonious comments that were made by the Green Party to start with, Eugenie Sage, when she said that the government has led dairy farmers up the garden path. Well, Mr. Speaker, dairy farmers are not stupid. They have their own sense of business. They have their own sense of ability. These guys are smart. These guys run their family businesses to large corporates. And to say that they've been led up the garden path is offensive, quite frankly. Mr. Speaker, there was no complaint from that party when grape prices halved, or when cherry prices dropped, or when kiwi prices or the businesses had their difficulties. It's only when they talk about dairy farmers being led up the garden path that is offensive and sanctimonious. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to talk about the pie. Julianne Genter talked about the Greens not wanting to eat chocolate pie. Well, Mr. Speaker, she didn't want a chocolate pie, and she thought it was because it made her feel sick if she ate too much. Mr. Speaker, this side of the House is interested in growing the pie and making it chocolate, banana, fruit, nuts, everything that is able to be jammed into that pie. Because, Mr. Speaker, we want a larger pie so that we can all share that pie to raise the standard of living for all New Zealanders, Mr. Speaker. The pie that the Green Party wants, sir, would be sugar-free, wheat-free, chocolate-free and butter-free. There would be no cake. There would be no economy. The economy would be destroyed. Mr. Speaker, that party wants to go back to the horse and cart. Sir, that is just ludicrous and really a thing of the past. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to turn my contribution to the tight rein on spending that we have in this government. Mr. Speaker, we will be heading to the target is 20% of external debt by 2020, Mr. Speaker. That is a very good result given the global economy, the global situation, as well, of course, as our domestic situation here, particularly around Christchurch. And Minister Foss talked about $17 billion going into Christchurch. That is a big number, and a number that was unavoidable, unless, of course, one was to ignore Christchurch, which would be totally unacceptable. Mr. Speaker, the other side talk about supporting farmers, talk about supporting small businesses, but they're not willing to vote for the TPP. They're not willing to get on board with RMA reforms. They're not willing to support our exclusion of agriculture from the ETS. That party, the Green Party, want to tax farmers up to the eyeballs so that to ensure, in fact, that they go out of business, so that they're uncompetitive with our international competitors, and of course, without those people earning a living by exporting our products, there is no tax. There is no tax to be taken. There is no tax to spend on health and education and police, for example, sir. Mr. Speaker, I am looking forward to the opposition voting for TPP, but of course they're not going to. They're going to instead increase their handout policies by giving away more free education. They're wanting to give, in fact, sir, to the top 1%. They're willing to give more money. They're going to give more money to those who are already earning more money than the average. And the opposition members talk about, well, yeah, that's fine. We want to give them more money because they're going to be paying more taxes when they get into the more highly paid jobs. Sir, people are willing to borrow to be educated in the tertiary sector, and to have a policy from the opposition which simply gives more money to those that do not need it is just a waste of taxpayers' money, Mr. Speaker. These people are not concerned about taxpayers' use of money. They forget who is going to be paying for that handout. It will be the person, but it is a handout to people who do not need it. and they're going to be taking money from others that do.
Order. The member's time has expired.